whatever you want to do. I'll stop backseat driving. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is David Monticalvo, he, him. And I just want to introduce myself. I am a writer and speaker on queer spirituality. I'm working on a book on how gay men can use spirituality to improve their lives, heal themselves, and then heal the world around them. And part of what I do is I'm full-time staff at a Unity Church of San Francisco, where I also run a gay men's spirituality group. And I wanted to take a moment to just express my gratitude for you all being here and having a sense of my own journey. The universe has brought me to this place. Never would have I imagined years ago, 5 years ago, that I would be in a Unitarian Universalist church that is not exclusively Christian. I was heavily involved in Pentecostal Christianity, and never would have I imagined that I was openly out and wearing heels on Facebook and Instagram and all of the things. But here I am, living my truest, most authentic self. And I think authenticity is probably layers, right? So I'm at a different layer, and there's probably more layers that are going to be revealed. And giving a talk on creativity of all things in front of the most creative people that I could ever imagine, drag artists. So thank you for having me here. Thank you, Bonnie and team, for the wonderful organization. And if you would, if I can advance the slide. So I want to give a little bit of a background to me. If I were to have a discussion on my life, I would call it the, I had a really fun title that I wanted to, okay. So I would call this prequel to my life called Completely Uninspired, the David Monticalvo origin story. So picture it. Jacksonville, Florida, circa 2017. I'm sitting in a corporate boardroom and the director is speaking about KPIs and how to measure success for this very large healthcare enterprise. And they're talking about circling back and having different kinds of indicators with all of these things that are just like going over my head. And I'm a junior strategy analyst and I'm trying to make a good impression for all of these people. And then my director says, well, David, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I felt so completely uninspired. Everyone else seemed to have these great ideas, except for me. Also during that time, I was so deep in the closet that I was locked in the closet. I locked myself in there and was not my truest self. I had so much pressure to compare myself to other people. I was in a relationship with someone who fancied themselves a creative, and anytime I would have ideas, she would shut it down. And so I felt incredibly like this. I would have said, other people are ideas, folks. I'm not an idea person. I was not discerning. I wasn't good enough. But as the universe would have it, I hit rock bottom. That I was into a woman unexpectedly ended. I lost my traditional Christian faith. I moved cross country. I had, including but not limited to, the death of my father and getting rejected from a number of academic and career. I was level. I was at ground zero. And so I got to choose my life for me. And that was the most incredibly blessed but horrible experience that I knew that as I came back to my, all of these things that I am there, I'm the opposite now. I'm my truest self. I got to create what spirituality means to me. I got to create what my sexuality means to me. And so I have three ways in which you can odds. And so if you get nothing else from this talk, I want you to know that through practice and owning your truest self, creativity will rain down. I love this photo of Sasha Velour because this is like one of the finale things on Drag Race, and she's going against. They're doing So Emotional by Whitney Houston. It's an amazing song. And then she pulls off this wig and rose petals fall down. And this symbolizes what creativity can be for me, for you, you, and you. And it's like, you just when you wear a wig and it comes down. And I want to always around us, we have where it is and we can just grab it. Scott, during Scott's session about the, when it was talking about the eye of the storm, pulling creative ideas out of the air and being in that storm. Thank you for that, Scott. And so there are three ways in which you can unleash your creativity, starting points. So the first is to celebrate your inner. The next is to tell your inner critic, shay away, you're eliminated. Is to ignite your intuition. These can happen in different steps. They're just three different ways. Next, please. So the first is to. This picture is a picture from last Halloween of me and my partner, John. And they're both our avatars from when we were children. He loved paleontology, and I was a second. Flori La Mahina, because that last year, Florence and the Machine was my diva of the year. And so, and I'm Mexican, so, and so I embodied this seductress, that was what I was as a child. I used to tell myself, I'm half mermaid and half witch as a little 7-year-old. The reason that you return to what you were as a child when you're trying to become more creative is because that's the purest form of who you are. So if you think back what the kind of things that you were interested in as children, what comes to mind? Childhood is characterized three kind of things. The first is awe. Things, you're so young, you're so new to the world that the most random things keep you in awe. Why is the sky blue? Why is the water blue? Where does rain come from? All of those sorts of things you ask your family where they are. The next is magic. Why are we so drawn to fairy? It goes to that awe, that sense of the there, right? We have imagination, and then most importantly, childhood is play is low pressure, imagination, and you do things. There's no put on a show, most like in the sandbox, a sandbox. You can create things and then destroy them, move it away. The importance of play. And then now we can by healing our inner child. I'm going to end today's session by doing a meditation where we affirm our intent in that one. Next slide, please. So as a bit of a break, kind of clumped into groups. So just in the people that are around you, answer these following questions. I'm going to set a timer. Who are you ashamed for liking as children? What aspects can you call back into your life as a drag artist, or if you're not a drag artist, just a creative? Everybody's creative, by the way. What were they like? So turn to your neighbors and ask those.
So there wasn't okay unless you want to support. I told myself, I remember that.
always keep a balance of fact and masculinity. So the notion from explaining. It is so big. Jokes on that. Yeah.
Where I mean, I guess I really where I use it. Yeah. And then like fights and stuff. And like brother plays so.
About another minute. Just waiting. That's so cool. How do you get the jewels on it? Just 6,000. I love it. Heard you on my list. Okay, everybody. Since we can come back to center. I hope that, and I meant to say this before the breakout group, but is we're talking about ideas for yourself. Feel free to write those down. That's part of like what the learning is, to become more creative for yourselves as you're talking amongst yourselves. I think that helping to just increase the amount of ideas. So, aimed for liking. Just a couple of popcorn responses. What were you ashamed for? Thank you. What's that? Oh, I love it. Good grades. Yeah.
And also.
Oh, I was really good at memorizing Bible verses.
Yes. Yes.
Keyword.
Oh yes, I love that. Embodying that that wisdom. That's what that means, right? Embodying wisdom. I'm hearing musical creativity. Those are all of the things that you had in yourselves originally. So what aspects, or is anybody interested in calling back into your life? Yes.
Because of this particular block, so I'll celebrate it for being so mature, so young. I'm the oldest sibling. So now a lot of my drag and what I love to do is just channel that immaturity, right? As much childlike silliness. To sort of balance that, them being the person you want to be at the end is going to be the thing that
I love that. So kind of opposite of what people told you that you had to be or what you manifested, but just as an adult now, going back to that pure state. I love that. I love that. Anybody else?
For me, being a tomboy.
Ah, yeah. And I'm trying to embody more of my masculine now too. So I want to learn how to be a tomboy. Maybe I can come to you for lessons. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, yes. So if you had an imaginary friend, what were they like?
Yes. Mine were like my siblings, but like kind of a bizarre version. Imaginary family that like with
Oh, that's so cool.
kind of straight imaginary from.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Like a mirror family.
I've got 75 stuffed animals.
Ah.
They all have personalities and names and backstories. And I found out a couple of them were lesbians.
Yes, oh, of course, obviously. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I had like I was saying like dozens of like different kinds of like little toys that were like each had a name and a personality and a backstory. And like also had like we would all together go on adventures where we would fight this alternative like universe evil twin version of myself. It was like me that was evil from the future. And I had to like
Yes. You're fighting your shadow side. So for me, I was meditating yesterday and I like remembered that my imaginary friend was a pink-haired troll. So in terms of the trolls were like big in the early 90s, and her name was Arista. And I think I got the name Arista from like it was one of Ariel's like sisters or something from Little Mermaid, and she was my my imaginary best friend. And we're gonna put a pin in that thought about imaginary friends because we're gonna return to it in just a second. Next slide, please. And so, yeah, I'm going somewhere with this. Hold on a second. So we're talking about play and imagination. And so anytime that we embody play in our life as adults and not only as drag artists, but even in our day-to-day life, if we work a desk job or whatever, trying to solve problems or even trying to figure out like where to go, like how to take a drive, like how to get from point A to point B, we're always using creativity. And part of creativity, to become more creative, is having a mindset about creativity. It's a muscle. It's something that you can continue to access more and more. There is this Greek term called temenos, and it's a place where people would be able to access the gods, say an altar, for lack of a better term, or just like a holy place. And we can establish that for ourselves. And so part of what is beautiful about ritual and having talking about the Lectio Divina, having that centering, you can go within your heart for that, or your mind's eye, or you can actually create like a physical space for it. And I like to do this when I'm going into my creativity. My creativity kind of tends to manifest in terms of my writing. I'm working on a book, and I have this ritual that I do. And so I call it a holy sandbox. Earlier, I mentioned that a sandbox is a place of play. It's a place where you can just make things and then wipe it away. We can do the same thing in terms of accessing our creativity. I like to play brain games. I go into my mind palace. And sometimes when if anybody's in the Bay Area, lives in the Bay Area, if you've all ever taken BART, that's a great place to sit and do mind games because I try not to listen to things. I try not to have my headphones in because BART can kind of be a scary place. So I like to have like my druthers about me. And so I don't like to listen to things. And so I just sit in the cart and play these brain games. Okay. So I like to do this game. So if I've never, full disclosure, I've never done full drag. As much as I rock heels, I'm not like, I'm on the journey to doing my makeup. I want to learn all that. My drag avatar is, her name is Rebecca Revelation. And so she, capital L-A-T-I-O-N, revelation, because when you come in contact with her, you're going to be screaming, "Oh God." So she's a reformed nun, and yeah, and so she has lots of time to make up for. But her avatar is, she loves to wear holy vestments, but she wears it in her own way. And so as drag artists, no matter what your drag aesthetic is or who your drag persona is, you can, if you're trying to be more creative, you can look at what other drag artists have done or what other artists have done and think to yourself, how can I tweak this look? All right, so if you were looking at Pope Francis, how can you tweak Pope Francis's look right there? The eyes. Rhinestone, yes. I didn't.
Like, come on, where's the gold and the
Yes.
and the mitre? And
Yeah,
the
yes,
you
yes.
know, it's like,
Those things, yes.
oh.
And this is him on a dressed down day. Yes.
I think that needs some fringe.
It does. Yeah. Absolutely.
Rainbow sad.
All of those things, I love it. We just did a creative exercise. If you have the sewing skills, or you know the people have the sewing skills, you can make this look happen, right? Another brain game that I do is I just imagine how I can improve the little things in life, the daily experiences in life. And it's no matter how outlandish it is, it's about training your brain again to look at the creative side. So I mentioned the BART situation, the BART experience. And if you've never been in BART sometimes can be very crowded. And in the newer BART cars, they don't always have a lot of places to sit. So as I'm standing in the BART during rush hour, I'm thinking, how can I make this better? I was like, oh, you can create foldable, collapsible chairs that you can just push to the side when it's not as busy, and then pull it out when it is busy. Or you can make a double-decker BART train. All of those kinds of things. Those are not going to happen, right? But it's about training your mind to have a lifestyle of creativity thinking. And then you can make far-fetched associations. I like to, so you can look at two very disparate things and find a commonality between them. How can this pen be related to this laptop?
You use a pen to write and you can type on a laptop.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're training yourself to find those kinds of like weird things. They don't go together. These are not, you wouldn't think they go together, but you're absolutely right. It's that kind of stuff, training your brain. All right. So the first step to unleashing your creativity was going back to like kind of the pure state of children and playing and getting your mind to think about creativity. The next step is to get rid of your inner critic. You know, as I mentioned, I like to write. And when I first started writing was such an arduous process because I would type a word and I'm like, well, actually this word would go better. And so it would just take forever. And the amount of time that it would take for me to output ideas, I would be wasting on one sentence. And so I realized that having an inner critic all the time doesn't promote excellence. It hinders it. It blocks it. As a caveat, of course, there is a time and a place for your inner critic, right? It's useful. As I was preparing this presentation, I put all of my ideas out there, and then I went back and edited it. And maybe sometimes there may be mistakes on this anyway, so maybe my inner critic wasn't as strong. No, but that perfectionism is something that causes the blockage because you're overthinking about what this leads to and how is this going to look in the final product. And instead of focusing on just getting the ideas out there, I never experienced writer's block because I just try to get it all out there. And when I know when my creativity is kind of at its, I know when it's done. I trust my process when it's done. So in terms of I'm going to give some specific examples in which how drag artists can promote that creativity. But I remember that creativity is a numbers game. And so that's why you're training your brain to think in terms of these little brain games, to play. Most of the time, those ideas are not going to come to manifestation. I mean, just what it is, because it's a numbers game. And so if you think of it like a funnel, it's like you have all these creative ideas. The creative output's like this. So it's about having a whole bunch of creative ideas. I adopt this mindset that I call the grunge mindset. And it's where I'm purposefully being messy. When I give myself permission to be messy, by default, the inner critic is silenced. So how can drag artists silence their inner critic? The first step is to do quick drag. I love on Drag Race when they have those mini challenges where they're given a finite amount of supplies and they have to put it together in 15 minutes. You can use this in your drag by just putting together whatever you have. And then once you kind of get something set, you can think about how you can refine it, how you can access the inner critic to get some insight, get some feedback. But you have a starting place. That's what this messiness is always about. It's about a starting place. It's about getting everything out there. I love to look at things from a sideways or subversive perspective. And again, it's part of training your brain to look for the differences in life. I have this picture in my apartment of a view of San Francisco from the Berkeley Hills, and it's beautiful and the sun setting on it and stuff. As soon as I got that painting or the picture, I turned it on its side. Everyone who walks and sees that, they're like, why did you do that? Like, they don't get it. And I'm like, I always tell them, it's training my mind to look at things from a different perspective. When I walk through the city, when I walk to the church, I always train myself to look up, because you never know what beauty you're missing. In life, we get so focused on what's straight ahead or maybe what's like below us, we don't look up. Creativity is about looking at what's already there, but taking a different perspective from it, and then kind of manifesting it, using that shaman magician to manifest it into life. Another way you can allow your inner critic to be quiet is by doing what's called the Morning Pages Journal. And this originated from The Artist's Way, which is a book on creative recovery. Has anybody read it? Oh yes. Yes.
Stop reading to get guilty.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I did the same. But if you hear nothing else from that book, one of the things is using the morning pages. And this is where, for those who are not familiar with it, you have a journal and you write for 3 pages, or I like to just give myself a like 20-minute time frame because I have a big journal with like big pages. And you just write stream of consciousness, whatever is on your mind, whatever's in your soul. And you don't go back and read it immediately, and you don't edit it. And it's about quickly accessing your subconscious. So we talked about becoming more creative by returning to what you were interested in as children and then silencing your inner critic. The third step is to ignite your intuition. When I went through my dark night of the soul, my resetting of my life, my rock bottom, I made the decision that I was going to trust my intuition. My intuition had always told me that I was attracted to men. My intuition had always told me that I was drawn to spirituality that wasn't exclusively Christian, but I ignored it. And so over time, that meant I was dead to my intuition. I lived my entire life in the closet in those ways. So of course I wasn't going to listen to any insight that I have. I remembered, so I was in a training to be a deliverance person, which if you're from Pentecostalism, you know, deliverance is like rebuking demons out of people. And I remember saying, I remember saying, I don't have the gift of discernment. I don't have that intuition to know when somebody has a demon. Because I'm not a discerning person. I don't have an intuition. When I undid all of that in my life, I affirmed that I had intuition. So how did I do that? I realized that the desires in my heart were pointing me towards something more. So the desires that you have tell us which direction to go. And so I followed that intuition. I was living in Dallas, and that was not where my heart was supposed to be. And so I left everything, followed my intuition, moved to San Francisco. And my life has never been more amazing. And that's not to say that anywhere else is not amazing, but San Francisco is amazing for me in my life. And I followed that my heart's desire is what it's called. The intuition is really kind of three variables in a formula. It's about trusting yourself. It's a muscle. Intuition is a muscle. So the more that you listen to it, whether you have a gut reaction, a solar plexus, an intuition about somebody, follow it, listen to it. It's about curiosity. It's about following what you're drawn to. I like to follow my curiosity by going down Wikipedia rabbit holes, and I find a topic, and then I click another link within it, and then another link within it. Before I know it, there's an hour that's gone by. Some people use YouTube rabbit holes, whatever. It's following your creativity like breadcrumbs. We talked about your imaginary friend earlier. The Romans viewed the word genius. The Romans viewed that everyone had a genius that followed them throughout their life. And we may call it a spirit or an angel. They called it your genius. And in fact, whenever a person had a birthday, they celebrated the genius on the birthday rather than the person. In our day and age, we tend to think of a genius as a very select few of people who are geniuses. I challenge that notion by returning to the ancient definition of genius. We all have. And we can access that symbolically in our mind by potentially revisiting our imaginary friend and asking them for insight. We can go back to that holy sandbox, the temenos, the altar, and affirm that for us, that we can access our genius. And it's just another way to help realize that creativity is always speaking. We just have to talk to it. Beyonce talks about Sasha Fierce, and that's kind of her alter ego. As drag artists, you have your drag persona. When we put on an avatar, we put on a persona, that's still part of us, right? It's not to say that there's, that when I hear people talk about like you should never like drag is just putting on a fake version, like a fake person or whatever. No, drag is putting on a different side of you. It's accessing someone who's always been there, just a different version of it. What I love about drag is drag points humanity, people, non-drag folks, points them to the divine. Drag artists tend to have big hair. You think of drag queens, big hair. I love Alyssa Edwards' big hair. And
Texas.
yes, yeah. Mesquite, she from Mesquite, yeah. And that's like symbolically pointing people to God, the divine. And so when a drag artist puts on that hair, the makeup, or if somebody's a drag king putting on that masculine persona, that is a way that you are manifesting another side of you. Me, as someone who's not a drag artist yet, I put on Rebecca Revelation before I came to this talk because I was going to embody my creativity. My role right now is to be a reflection of the divine creative aspect, the divine creator. And so I put on my Sasha Fierce, my version of Sasha Fierce. We can do that to become more creative and make friends with that. So I don't know how much time I have left, so probably need to wrap it up. How much?
About 8, 9 minutes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So we talked about creating or having a version of what your genius is. I am in the process of drawing my genius, and whatever that looks like to you, you can cut that out, draw it, decorate it, post it somewhere that you see as a reminder of your genius, who you can access and talk to. I've created a sacred space or an altar within my room, my office, and it's all of the things that I aim to be, to manifest. It's fierceness, and you'll see there's 2 candles. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a candle of Mariah Carey and Britney Spears.
Butterfly ring.
Yes, obviously. Thank you for recognizing that. Mariah and Britney, and I have a picture of me and my mom, and I have a tarot card of the magician, and then I have a little part of my my sacred masculine. I have a photo of my best friend who passed away, who's a straight man, who's an ally, and I have a Ganesha right there to remove barriers, and then I have a whole bunch of books that mean something to me. That's my sacred space. So whatever that looks like for you, you can create that to help you embody your creativity. And then finally, having an artist's date. This is also the thing that was in The Artist's Way. Again, you don't need to read the rest of the book. Just know those 2 things, the morning pages and the artist's date. The artist's date is where you go and you spend some time by yourself, fueling whatever your creative output is. For me, the other day, for weeks, I've been looking for the right shoes to wear to this conference. And I was not finding it. Laura and I went on Sunday, we went to try to find something. I couldn't find the right thing. And I went to the Haight. I took myself on an artist date the other day. I got my COVID vax and my flu vax and everything. And I was like, I'm going to do something good for myself. And I went to the Haight and I went thrifting. And lo and behold, I found the most perfect shoes. And for those who are online, I want to show them. They are Tinkerbell green, gorgeous, sparkly shoes. I took myself on an artist date, and I fed that curiosity. I went to some metaphysical shops, and I just left feeling joyous. And then I came home, and I worked on this presentation, and I wrote a little bit, and it was so healing to my soul. You can do all of those things. So in the last 3 to 5 minutes or so, we said a lot of things about creativity. And so I just want to create an anchor point for you as you continue your creative journey. And so feel free to sit back in your chair. Feel your body supported by the earth in this beautiful chapel. You are safe in the universe. The doors are closed. You're safe in here. I have my eyes open, so feel free to close your eyes. And in your mind's eye, give yourself a huge hug of appreciation right now. That hug is full of gratitude for yourself. By being here, you are fueling your divine creator. You are showing the world more of a glimpse of who you are. Imagine within your body a little child. You, as your adult version, are looking at your younger version. Look at the younger version of you deep in your eyes and tell them how proud you are of them. Tell them what you said earlier that you were celebrated for. That you were celebrated for being a pianist, or you were celebrated for being a tomboy, or for memorizing things, or being an old soul full of wisdom. Tell them that. And then if there was something that you didn't hear as a child, but you wanted to hear, tell your younger version of that as well. Tell them, you are such a cool kid. I love that you loved dolls, or that you loved to be outside. I love all of those things about you. And as you breathe in, tell your inner child that you have permission to express those things in your life now as an adult. Ask your child, your inner child, for advice. Adults don't normally ask children for advice, but you can. Breathe in. And look at your inner child one more time and repeat these words to them. You are God's perfect expression of divine life. I see you and I love you exactly the way you are. And as you breathe one more time, feel yourself coming back to this space, knowing that that inner child is always within you. It's always wanting to speak. Don't be afraid to give it space. That's your creativity. All of these things you can use in your daily life to become more creative. I love this meditation, this affirmation about you are God's perfect expression of divine life. At Unity, the church I work at, we say that every day, every service to our kids. We bring them up on stage and say that. And it's such a powerful affirmation that you can grow up hearing. Most of us didn't hear that message, but we can tell our inner child that now. Thank you, everybody. If you would like a copy of these slides, feel free to, I have a piece of paper you can write your emails down or text it to me. I'm on Instagram, and I would love to stay connected with you all and learn from you about your tips on creativity. And I honor all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And then the shoes.